Hello, welcome to the West Side Podcast. This is where we'll post some of our audio from our sermons on Sunday, and we're so glad that you're here. Westside's vision is to reconcile people to God through the grace of Jesus step by step. We hope you enjoy, and thanks for tuning in.
Ruth, part 5. Here we go. We're doing a 7-week series going through the book of Ruth. We are on to chapter 3. I'm calling this one Thrills at the Threshing Floor because it is fun. It is good. It is one of those true head scratcher passages. When you read through it the first time and the 10th time, you just go, what are we doing here? What is going on? And for that reason, I am so excited to get to walk through this story, this passage with you today. If you want to snag the slides, you can do that at the QR code there. Just real quick, I want to offer a story reset. I want to do this really briefly at the beginning of each of these weeks, just in case this is your first time here or you haven't been here recently. The story of Ruth, the first couple of chapters. First of all, Ruth 1 is a story of Naomi losing everything. There's a famine in the land. She and her family, led by Elimelech, they go off east to the land of Moab, and they're provided for there, but Elimelech dies, her 2 sons die, she's left in a foreign land without any security, safety whatsoever. It's a story of her loss. And so that by the end of that chapter, she is saying, don't call me even by my normal name. Call me Mara. Call me bitter, for the Lord has sent me away. And she puts agency on God. She says, God is the one who has done this. God is the one who has taken this from me. It's a picture of lament in real life. And it's actually an expression of faith, as Gianna's sort of walked us through there. That's Ruth chapter 1. And the last line of Ruth 1 is that there's this barley harvest coming, and then all of chapter 2 is about God's provision for Naomi and Ruth through the barley harvest, through the courageous act of Ruth to go and glean in a field. And it just so happens that she ends up in Boaz's field, and Boaz is a good man. He's a close family relative, actually, and we're going to learn in more detail next week about what this whole redeemer piece is, but he's a family redeemer for them, a kinsman redeemer. But through that chapter, through chapter 2 in the barley harvest, God provides for Ruth and Naomi. They were going day to day wondering where their next meal was going to come from. And God, through Boaz, provides, and he provides lavishly, abundantly, so that they have enough to eat. And this takes about 2 weeks. This harvest would have been about 2 weeks. So that brings us to chapter 3 after 2 of these weeks passing through the harvest. But there is this lingering question. Yes, we've been provided for today, Naomi could say. But there's this nagging question. Elimelech has died. Her sons have died. If Elimelech's line is going to continue, if her husband's name is supposed to continue, then somebody has to step in. Somebody has to step in and buy back their family. How on earth is this going to happen? Ruth 3 begins to tell that story. We're going to end again on a little bit of a cliffhanger here at the end of this week. This is just my way, but also the Bible's way of getting you to come back next week. So it's not, it's how the story goes. Before we read the story, though, I have to ask you this question, because this feels like a proper backdrop for this passage. Have you ever been watching a movie or a TV show or reading along in a book, and you get really connected to a character, and then that character comes up to a moment where it looks like they're going to throw everything away? Do you get animated? Do you talk at the TV? Do you say, no, don't you, you're not going to do that. Don't you dare do that. Or you're reading along, you go, no, no, no. Anybody done this? That is Ruth chapter 3. Because we have Boaz, who is this man of character, and Ruth, who is this woman of character, and they are both upstanding people. And the narrator brings us up to this moment where we go, oh, are they going to throw it away? Are they actually upright people after all? The narrator messes with us in the most fun of ways. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to read chapter 3, again in the New Living Translation, because it just does such a good job of telling the story. And then we're going to come back and walk through the steps. But just enjoy this. Ruth chapter 3, starting in verse 1. One day, Naomi said to Ruth, "My daughter, it's time that I found a permanent home for you so that you will be provided for. Boaz is a close relative of ours, and he's been very kind by letting you gather grain with his women. Tonight, he will be winnowing barley at the threshing floor. Now, do as I tell you. Take a bath and put on perfume and dress in your nicest clothes. Then go to the threshing floor, but don't let Boaz see you until he has finished eating and drinking. Be sure to notice where he lies down. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down there. He will tell you what to do." "I will do everything you say," Ruth replied. So she went down to the threshing floor that night and followed the instructions of her mother-in-law. After Boaz had finished eating and drinking, he was in good spirits. He lay down at the far end of the pile of grain, and he went to sleep. Then Ruth came quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. Around midnight, Boaz suddenly woke up and turned over. He was surprised to find a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she replied. "Spread the corner of your covering over me, for you are my family redeemer." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," Boaz exclaimed. "You are showing even more family loyalty now than you did before, for you have not gone after a younger man, whether rich or poor. Now don't worry about a thing, my daughter. I will do what is necessary, for everyone in town knows that you are a virtuous woman. But while it's true that I am one of your family redeemers, there is another man who is more closely related to you than I am. Stay here tonight, and in the morning I will talk to him. If he is willing to redeem you, very well, let him marry you. But if he is not willing, then as surely as the Lord lives, I will redeem you myself. Now lie down here until morning." So, Ruth lay at Boaz's feet until the morning, but she got up before it was light enough for people to recognize each other. For Boaz had said, "No one must know that a woman was here at the threshing floor." Then Boaz said to her, "Bring your cloak and spread it out." He measured 6 scoops of barley into the cloak and placed it on her back. Then he returned to the town. When Ruth went back to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "What happened, my daughter?" Ruth told Naomi everything Boaz had done for her, and she added, "He gave me these 6 scoops of barley and said, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Then Naomi said to her, "Just be patient, my daughter, until we hear what happens. The man won't rest until he has settled things today." That is Ruth, chapter 3. Each week we've been digging into some elements of the cultural background of the story that is otherwise unclear to us, that we wouldn't naturally be thinking about as modern Western readers of the text. And the background piece before us in this text is the threshing floor here, that of the threshing floor and what exactly goes on at a threshing floor. The threshing floor is this. I got sort of a picture of it here. It would typically be outside of town. It's where the winnowing of the barley would take place. But it's typically out of town, outside on a large, flat area where they could take advantage of prevailing winds. So what you see the beast, the oxen doing there is taking around a tool that would do the threshing. You could also do this by hand, which you also see there in the middle of the circle. And that's what Ruth would have done. She would have done that by hand. But when you have a whole lot and you are there at the end of your harvest, it becomes a party. It becomes a group activity. So there's the threshing, there's the tilling of the ground, and then that is followed by winnowing barley. And that's the note that we get from Naomi here. Boaz is going to be out winnowing barley on the threshing floor with the men tonight. She knew it was coming to the end of harvest. And so this is a group activity to help separate. It's a separating of the grains from the chaff, the grains from the stalk, separating out the grains. So that is the good stuff is what you end up with. And so you would toss a stalk up into the air, and the winds would help blow away the chaff. It helped blow away the chaff. Think of Psalm 1 there. The wicked are not like the righteous. The righteous are rooted. They're like a tree that grows up and gives fruit in season. Not so the chaff that the wind blows away. When the wind blows away the chaff, what is left there is the kernel, the thing that is actually edible for the taking. So that is the activity that goes on here. That's what Boaz is going to be up to. But not just that, it is party time, because this is the end of the harvest, and it has been a bountiful one. And so not only do Boaz and his men do this work, they're going to throw a party after the fact. And Naomi knows this. So this is the setting. This is where Ruth is going to end up. And it turns out they have such a good party that they don't really want to go anywhere after the fact, and so they end up just sleeping here. Boaz and his men end up sleeping here. You can think of Scrooge McDuck on his pile of gold coins. Just like, yeah, I've got all of this, and I can go ahead and take a snooze right here. That's Boaz here in Ruth chapter 3. So we need to talk about this plan that Naomi has, because what is going on here? What is the mother-in-law up to is a question we could ask a lot of times in our lives. And again, right here, don't say the Bible isn't relevant. We could ask it right here as well. Naomi's plan. She tells Ruth to get all dolled up. Go wash, put on perfume, get dressed in your best clothes. Ruth goes and gets all dolled up. She goes out of town on her own to an all-male gathering. Okay, I just need to stop before I get further into the details of the story and say this is going to be like a don't shoot the messenger kind of a situation. I'm going to say some things in the next few minutes here, and you're going to go, that doesn't sound very Bible-y, or that doesn't sound like very wholesome, that doesn't sound very Christian-y. And let me just say, the Bible is like that. The Bible is like that. Let's treat it like the actual document that it is. The Bible tells us stories sometimes that include some details, okay? And we're going to talk, we don't need to shy away from the details, okay? So I'm just the messenger here, okay? Okay, don't shoot the messenger. Okay, Ruth gets all dolled up. She goes out of town to this threshing floor. An all-male gathering. We get that detail later on in the text. Only men here. The man that she's supposed to approach, Boaz, a man of character, yes, but it's clear that he has been eating and drinking. He would have had his fill. Eat, drink, and be merry is the task for the night after closing up shop for the season. Eat, drink, and be merry. Might have been a little tipsy. We're just going to say that. This is what happens at a feast. It's a celebration. It's an okay thing. It's a good thing. But not only that, she's supposed to go and uncover his, and I put this in quote, feet. In Hebrew, in the ancient Near East, feet were talked about as a euphemism for genitalia, for private parts. And so you're reading along in this story, and the narrator is trying to bring you right up to a moment of going, wait, what now? Ruth is supposed to go and uncover what? And so it's left unclear in the text. It's left unclear which one that she means. And there's, I would say that it's unclear for a reason, just because it's really good storytelling and it's meant to draw you in. You're supposed to be going, what on earth is going to happen next? What is it exactly that Naomi is calling on Ruth to do? Is it meant to be left unclear because it's up to Ruth what to do? It's up to Boaz what to do? All of these questions are lingering in the back of our minds. So the audience is here wondering what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next? Is this going to be a woman of character seducing a man of character? We have two upstanding folks in this story. In a sea of moral filth, which is what the days of the judges were, you have these two incredible characters, people of strength and valor and character. Is one of them going to seduce the other one? Is an impoverished woman going to take advantage of the situation and force a man to marry her? Is Ruth going to go get pregnant tonight and then put Boaz in a compromising situation where he's left with no other option but to marry her? Is that what Naomi is asking? Or perhaps the Israelites are reading the story and go, well, this is just how Moabites are. Remember, there is still this ick of Moab that is the cultural backdrop for all of this story. Moabites are those people. They have a tattered history, not reliable in any sense. This is just what Moabites do. Of course, this would be what Ruth is up to in this story. She tricked us. So, what's going to happen? I want to lay one little note in front of us before we get back into the story. The threshing floor is a place where wheat and barley are separated from the chaff. It is a place of judgment, in a sense, of one thing falling away, that which is worthless falling away, but what is true and good being left alone. It's firm. You can't mess with it. It is distilled from the process. And so the scene is set, and I think the symbolism is rather thick here. Will Ruth and Boaz be those whose character holds up? Or will it crumble? Will it be the thing? Will they be the thing that falls away when the moment gets hot? Will they crumble when it matters? They are the picture of what happens at the threshing floor with the wheat, but also with one's character. So, with those things in mind, let's go back and look at the details of this text. First, Roaz, nope, that's both. Roaz, that's good. Ruth is the first one to move. She makes her move, and it's very clear. This is a marriage proposal. So when Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, the text is clear to let us know he's doing just fine. He's having a good time. It's a good night for Boaz. It was a rich harvest. He went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile, and it's unclear exactly why Boaz sleeps here. Maybe he was worried about theft. He had all this bounty. He didn't want somebody to come steal it because it's not on his property. It's outside of town. Maybe he's just tired and doesn't want to go anywhere. Maybe it is kind of nice to just sit on your riches and lay down on your riches. I don't know. But Ruth approaches quietly. She uncovers his feet and lays down, and it's not clear which one is meant here. In the middle of the night, something startled the man. Having somebody sleep at your feet that you didn't know was there will do that to a person. He turned and goes, "Who are you?" It's so dark. He doesn't know what's going on. "I am your servant Ruth," she said. "Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of the family." You can look at Ezekiel 16:8 as a parallel passage here. This is what Yahweh does for the people Israel when he takes them in as his bride. He spreads a covering over them. It also gives Boaz a chance to be the fulfillment of the blessing that he voiced back in Ruth 2:12. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Boaz blessed Ruth with those words, and now he gets an opportunity to be a fulfillment of the blessing that he uttered. This is a marriage proposal, an upside down one, a surprising one. And obviously Boaz, it's the furthest thing from Boaz's mind. He's not expecting this whatsoever. It's a marriage proposal. So the question is, all right, what's Boaz going to do? Look at verse 10. The Lord bless you, my daughter. And again, let's just remember and look at pretty much every time Boaz opens his mouth in this story, the name of God is on his lips. This is a man who cannot conduct his business outside of the context of faith in his God. He is a rooted man, rooted in the love of God, in the character of God. That's why he can be a person of love and character. We'll look at that in a moment. The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. This kindness is greater than the one which you showed earlier. The kindness of going with Naomi in the first place is what is being talked about here. That's talked about in chapter 1. You've not run after younger men, whether rich or poor. So he's he's a little aw shucks about this whole thing. Like you decided to come to me. Now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town that you know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it's true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I. So he's going to go talk to this person. Boaz, at every point along the way, knows what the law is. He knows the Torah so well. And he is a principled man that he cannot help but act in integrity. He could have taken Ruth in right in that moment. But he's like, no, there's someone else who has legal rights to this situation closer than I do. And so I'm going to go talk with him. So Boaz responds with both gratitude and with integrity. So she lay at his feet until the morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized. And he said, no one must know that a woman came to the threshing floor. Let's make no bones about it. This is a scandalous situation. The fact that Ruth is bold enough to get into the threshing floor, go lay down at the feet of Boaz. And what starts to become clear here is, yes, the narrator wanted you to have a little bit of a question in the back of your mind. Is this feet or is this something else? Are they going to sleep together? Is Ruth going to get pregnant in this moment? But people of character respond in different ways. Even though the moment is scandalous, and we shouldn't downplay that whatsoever, people of character, people of integrity, people of principle respond properly, even in a moment where it might be expedient to do something else. It might be easy to do something else. But even then, he's like, no one can know that you were here. This is crazy. This is crazy that you were here. So please go home early. No one must know that a woman came to the threshing floor. But of course, he sends her back with a bunch of grain because he's got a soft spot in his heart for Naomi as well. The story holds up to people of character. Yeah, they're in this kind of dicey, kind of spicy moment here. For sure. Scripture's clear about that. But just because a moment is scandalous, we hear scandalous and we think, oh, it's going to be a salacious story. It's going to be something drama-filled. Somebody's going to make a mistake here, right? But nobody does. Nobody does. Why? Because Ruth and Boaz are people of chesed and chayil. They are people of steadfast love, enduring love, and they are people of upright, noble strength and character. both of them are talked about in this way. Ruth 2 told us that Boaz is a man of standing. That's how Hayil is translated there. And later in the chapter, we get this kindness associated with the actions of Boaz. And that kindness is the word hesed. It's God's steadfast, enduring, never giving up love. And now in Ruth 3, this kindness that is associated with her, which also happened in chapter 1, that's hesed as well. And all the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Word had gotten around about this incredible girl from Moab who had come back with Naomi. What an incredible figure she is. And now she's notable in the community as being this Eshet Hayil. There's the Hebrew phrase right here. Can I wander back here without feedback? Yep. This phrase right here is the phrase from Proverbs 31, a woman of noble character. Who is this going to be? Who is an example of a woman of noble character? Ruth answers that perfectly. That's why Ruth comes right after Proverbs in the Hebrew Bible. You want an example of a woman of character, a woman of courage, a woman who's not going to who's not going to give in to temptation, a woman who's not going to let anything get in the way of her character being lived out, her faith being lived out, her trust being lived out. That's who Ruth is. And when you get these two figures together, you get this anomaly. You get this picture of the faithfulness of God, the provision of God working through extraordinary circumstances. This is different than Abram and Sarai taking a shortcut in Genesis 16, trying to fulfill God's purposes through another with the story of Hagar. This is different than that. True trust in God allows one to live a life of character. Good luck getting at it any other way. Do you find it difficult to be a person of character? Do you find it difficult to do the right thing? We all do. How is it that Ruth and Boaz are able to do this? To hold up under scrutiny, under pressure? I think there's a couple of takeaways from this story about courage and character. First of all, courage and character are not about where you are from. They're not about how much you have, and they are not about who you know. Boaz, with his robust lineage, an Israelite who knows the Torah well, and Ruth, a woman from a foreign country with a sketchy past. Like the where they are from does not matter at all in this story. What ties them together, what enables both of them to be people of courage, is their connection to God. Their faith in God. Their foundation, the fact that they have been gripped by the love of God. Which brings us to the next point. Courage and character need the foundation of God's enduring love in order to stand strong no matter the circumstance. Someone gripped by the love of God is able to then act out the love of God in their lives. There is no other way to do it. You may be able to muster up some acts of kindness here and there. You may be able to make right decisions for a season. But you cannot, over the long haul, have a character on a trajectory that is honoring to God and good for yourself and good for your community. You cannot be on that trajectory outside of being tethered to the one who is love, the one who is strength, the one who is kindness. It is the love of God that is holding this whole thing together. It's the thread that keeps the story moving perfectly. Courage and character need the foundation of the love of God in order to thrive. And lastly, courage and character are an outworking of faith in God's provision. Why? Because outside of that faith in God's provision, we start to tinker, right? We start to tinker, and we might cut corners, We might take shortcuts, and we'll definitely do what is most efficient or what is most expedient in the name of making sure that I am taken care of, that I get what I need. In a world where your satisfaction is the highest cultural value, like you and I are pressured into taking the most efficient route to you being happy. Right? The life of faith is different than that. It's not just different, it's 180 degrees in the opposite direction of that. I don't live a life securing my own well-being. I live a life trusting in the provision of God, anchored in the things that God has called me to do and to be, and trusting that he'll meet me along the way, trusting that he will provide in the most surprising and unexpected ways. Do you find courage and character difficult? I think we all do. There is an anchor, a firm foundation that we can have that allows us to live in the midst of these things. Ruth and Boaz tell that story, and yet there is this cliffhanger at the end of chapter 3. Wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today. Boaz wakes up, goes about his day, gets showered, and heads straight to the city gate where he knows that he can run into this other figure. And that is the story of chapter 4. So you get to come back next week to hear what happens next. It is, I can't stress it enough, it's such a beautifully and intentionally told story. Even with the scandal here, even being brought up to this moment of tension and wondering who's going to fall and seeing that nobody actually does. It's a beautifully told story. A couple of reflection questions for us as we think about Ruth and Boaz and these extraordinary people. One, I want you to first think about who's an example of character in your life that you want to follow. We're in a world starved for good examples, people that we can look at and be like, yeah, I want to be like that when I grow up. Who is somebody, though, in your life that you can point at and go, man, they've stuck with it over the long haul. They refused to give in when it would have been easy to do so. Who's somebody like that in your life? Go be around them. Spend more time talking to them than reading, well, I won't fill in that blank, but, than looking at other stuff this week. How do you decide to do the right thing when cutting corners or choosing the expedient option is tempting? How do you do this? How do you, faced with a moment like Boaz and Ruth are, how do you choose the right thing? How do you do it? Do you have some moral grounding? Is it just the vibes of the day that are going to determine how you go one way or another? Is there a connection to God sufficient enough in your life that gives you a security in these moments? Is there? How do you choose? Next, where in your life are you tempted to shrug off or explain away decisions that you know to be out of step with God's best with you? It would have been easy to let Ruth off the hook if she had gone forward with the path that we thought maybe she was. But she doesn't. But we do this with ourselves, right? We shrug off. We explain away. We go, well, that was a tough day. That was a tough season. God still loves me. Yes, he does. But he also knows what is best for you. Do you believe that's what's best for you? Are there spots where you want to shrug it off, explain it away? And lastly, and most importantly, I would say, how do your decisions reflect the fact that you know that you are loved by God, loved deeply by the God of the universe? This hesed, this steadfast love, is the through line of all of these scenes. It is the foundation for each of these characters. Don't be so naive as to think that you and I can stand up against great cultural and societal pressures in a way that is true and good and right and wise and honoring to God. Don't think that you can do it outside of a firm conviction that the God of the universe loves you more than anything. That he will be there for you, with you, at any moment. And that God of love has a desire and knows what is good and right and best for you.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we hope the sermon inspired you in one way or another. If you'd like to stay connected with us, feel free to hit the Contact Us button on our website. Let us know who you are and send us any questions or prayer requests you may have. Or visit us in person at Prairie Mountain School in Eugene, Oregon at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram to stay updated on all things Westside. We'll see you next time.